welcome back to the channel. We're going to do a quick review today for Terrifier 3. Damien Leone's new movie came out this past week. It has done incredibly well in the theater, $18 million this weekend, which surpassed the $15 million that Terrifier 2 did in the box office in its opening weekend. And it crushed Joker in like Joker's second weekend. You know, I'm probably going to get a lot of hate in this review too, kind of like I did for Long Legs, but let me kind of walk you through my opinion of the movie and kind of what I thought about it. You know, I sat down to go see it. It was tough to go see this movie. I tried for like several days to go to like the late afternoon show. I was in California last week. I got back. There was a lot going on. So after the weekend, I said, well, I'll go see the movie on Monday. Now, Monday was the holiday, so I tried to go to the earlier show, like a 7 o'clock show, and it was fairly sold out other than right in front of the seat, right in front of the screen. So same thing Tuesday, I tried to go see it again, same thing. Last night, my wife goes, well, why don't we just order tickets during the afternoon? Now, she won't go to this movie with me. She is not a gore hound. So I ended up getting tickets, and it was a fairly full theater, a younger audience, right? So let's talk about a couple of things in the movie first. David Howard Thornton is great as Art. Like, you can tell he loves being Art the Clown. This movie is, you know, it's funny. I don't know if it necessarily amped up the gore from part 2. Like, that scene in the bedroom in part 2 where he goes after one of Sienna's friends and kills her, and it's like, you know, 10 minutes long, and it's brutal, and he's pouring bleach and salt, and like, that's probably the most brutal scene in any of the movies. And even I would say the scene in part 1 where he flips the girl upside down and saws her in half with a hacksaw is probably more brutal than anything in this movie. But this movie is brutal, don't get me wrong. The problem I have with Terrifier 3, well, it's two issues really. One is it's 2 hours and 5 minutes long. You know, the Terrifier 2 is like 2 hours and 2 hours, 20 minutes long. Like, you don't need to make a 2 hour and 20 minute or 2 hour and 5 minute slasher movie. It's the same thing with making a 2 hour and 30 minute Fast and the Furious movie. These stories can be told in 90 to 100 minutes. And the same thing I felt with Terrifier 3. It can be told in that same time frame. Now, I got home and I was curious to see how kind of, you know, how some of the other critics looked at it. So I looked at IMDb, I looked at Rotten Tomatoes. And this movie overall is very, very positively well received, and I can understand why. Visually, it's well done. Like, this is probably the best looking of the 3 movies. It's the most professional looking. You do have some great cameos in the movie as well, which is awesome. You know, you've got like Tom Savini, you've got Clint Howard. There was another cameo too, and I'm completely drawing a blank on who it was, but there was another, you know, well recognizable character in this movie. Chris Jericho was in it, right? So there's a really good continuation of the first story, but you know, the problem with this movie is, you know, if you think about Terrifier 1 and 2 kind of took place on that same night and then the year later, and this one jumps back and forward. The problem I have with it is just mean. Like, and I know you're saying, well, it's a horror movie, right? And don't get me wrong, I totally understand. There are horror movies that are mean because that's the theme of the movie, that just, there's no redeeming quality. You walk out and you're like, it's kind of, it weighs heavy on you. Think of something like, you know, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. You know, we get like Devil's Rejects, Hereditary. Like, those movies are brutal, but you know going in they're going to be brutal movies. And then you see like horror comedies, and I think Art the Clown wants to be like Freddy Krueger. Like, that's my vibe, I guess, of they're trying. And I think even said in an interview, you know, I think Damien Leone said we're trying to be like a silent Freddy Krueger. But the malice in this movie, like, it's just mean for the sake of being mean. Like, and it's hard to describe. Like, I think a lot of you guys will be like, man, well, it's a horror movie. Like, it's supposed to be mean. Yeah, but not, yes and no. Like, if you're a horror comedy, like, let me laugh. Like, I had a few chuckles in this movie. There were a couple scenes that were moderately funny. And, you know, like I said, David Howard Thornton does a great job as Art. Like, Art is great. Like, you know, it's such a good villain. Like, he's scary, he's relentless, he's so well done. But then here was my litmus test. At the end of the movie, I walked out, and like, nobody was cheering, nobody was laughing. Like, the movie ended, everyone just kind of got up and kind of walked out. Now, if that's what you're going for, if you're going for the vibe of like, man, I just want to shock the audience, well done. But you kind of made a horror comedy. Like, you want people to kind of like, hey, that was awesome, that was cool. Like, you know, people just get, you know, that small talk you see leaving a theater. And that was really absent last night when I saw Terrifier 3. So like I said, consensusly, I'm probably in the wrong. Rotten Tomatoes has it like a 78 for critics, and I want to say it's in the mid-80s for audience. IMDb has it at like a 7.1 out of 10. I can't give this movie anything more than a 5 out of 10, and that's for two reasons. And the two reasons I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. David Howard Thornton as Art is great. You know, the young lady that plays Sienna is great. Like, I think they have two very good characters. I think the acting is significantly better in this movie. And the gore effects are still incredible. Like, if you want to see good practical gore effects, it's, you know, go watch it. But then this is where the problem is. A little bit of a spoiler here, but this is where the movie gets off the track for me a little bit. Like, the first parts are pretty cool, but then we're just see Art like can just continue to chop up bodies, man. And at that point in time, I'm just like, okay, I'm watching a dude on here chop up, you know, a plastic corpse. Like, you've already killed the person, so now you're chopping their arms and legs off. Like, what's the point? Like, you've already, I know you can tell it's a fake body. Like, again, where are we going here? Like, are we just doing this to pad the runtime, or are we just doing this to add gore to make it more bloody? And either way, it didn't work for me. So again, I don't think it's a terrible movie. I think Terrifier 2 is a better movie, even though this it fills in a lot of the exposition that we were missing in Terrifier 2. And Terrifier 2 is way too long. I would watch Terrifier 2 10 times out of 10 before I'd watch Terrifier 3 again. And I'm probably, like I said, in the minority. And I'll go see Terrifier 4. Like, I love Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2. I saw 3 and 4 in the movies, and they were both terrible. And I will go see Jeepers Creepers 5 when it comes out. Like, I'll go see Terrifier 4 in the theater. Because, again, I'm very interested in what they're going to do together, what that character is going to do. And I appreciate the earnestness of David Howard Thornton's art. So, that's it, guys. If you haven't done so far, please hit that like and subscribe. I've got Smile 2 this weekend, hopefully. I'm going to try to see that this weekend. I'm very much looking forward to it. Smile 1 was one of my favorite movies 2 years ago, and it came out of nowhere for me. I will be doing my list this weekend of best threequels. And then we also, by the end of the season, we will have our list of movies that deserve an amazing remake. So, you know, that's it, guys. Like I said, please hit like and subscribe if you haven't. And as always, stay scary.